Activist investor Dan Loeb wants Yahoo CEO Scott Thompson terminated, and soon. Loeb today called for Thompson to be fired by Monday after revealing yesterday that Thompson's resume was inaccurate. His bio states he got a degree in computer science, when in fact it seems he did not. Who's to blame? Thompson, Yahoo, the board? Our senior West Coast correspondent Jon Erlichman is back with the latest twist in this story. Jon, it only gets more interesting.
No kidding. So just to recap, Dan Loeb uncovered Scott Thompson saying his college degree was in accounting and computer science. Turns out he had the accounting part, not the computer science. Yahoo initially called it an inadvertent error, then said the board's going to review the matter. For more on Yahoo, I'm joined by Bloomberg contributing editor Paul Kedrosky, who on his Infectious Greed blog has one of the best bios I've ever seen. It includes a reference to his undergraduate degree in engineering, which he says a professor would take away from him if he had the means to do so. So there you go. You're an honest guy,
What can
Paul.
I say? I know, highly.
I mean, I got the sense today that there were a lot of people going back and checking their own resumes just to make sure there wasn't any funny business.
Yeah, that's right. Was I ever born? Did I go to school? Do I eat regularly? I mean, there's this grand sort of personal fact-checking exercise going on all over North America right now. But I mean, this is a pretty remarkable one. I mean, in part because obviously it's not true. I mean, he didn't have an undergraduate degree in computer science. And, you start to wonder how one slid into the other. I mean, if you think back, way back when, accounting undergraduate degrees often used to be tied to this thing of sort of called management information systems, which was about managing computers. And so, maybe there was this idea that, accounting kind of had to do with computers, and slowly one slid into the other, and the next thing you know, he's laying claim to something he doesn't have. But nevertheless, the end is the problem. And the end is that seems to be making a fairly strong claim to a degree that he demonstrably doesn't have.
I want to talk about the reactions to this. I mean, this comes at a time when Mark Zuckerberg's saying everybody out there should know to a certain extent how to code. I've gotten the sense that engineers feel very strongly that this guy is in the wrong. The business development people are like, oh, it's a boo-boo.
Yeah. You know what? This whole sort of circling of the wagons by computer science people claiming that no non-technical people can run large organizations in information technology strikes me as absurd and self-refuting. I mean, people like that are legion in the industry, have been for a long, long time, right up to the top of companies like IBM and others. So just as a driving notion, I think it's absurd. So to the extent that that's what's happened here is that he felt pressure to add this because, this is what's required in the industry, shame on this idea that we have to have computer science degrees to run IT organizations. But nevertheless, I don't think that's what's going on here. I think what's happening instead is, just sort of general credential inflation strikes me as the problem. And, as a result now, Yahoo looks less credible than usual, which is hard for it to do.
Right, and this is a guy who was the chief technology officer at PayPal for a few years, so he has proven his technical chops. But to your point, sure. I mean, we can talk about Dan Loeb's hopes to get his people on the board and point the finger at the board. But what interests me even more is the employees. We're talking about a deflated company that has the new guy that's been rallying the troops around where they're going to go, and they can go, finally, all right, we've got an idea, and all of a sudden the air comes out of the tires. I mean, what does this mean for the morale at Yahoo?
Yeah, I mean, this is back to that old thing, the beatings will stop once the morale improves. I mean, clearly the beatings are continuing and the morale is never going to improve at this rate. I mean, there's just an endless list of things that seem to drive more beatings, in particular from Third Point and Dan Loeb. And, and now he's out saying, I think earlier today, that, if Thompson, the Yahoo CEO, isn't fired over the weekend, this is going to be unacceptable, and he expects this to be done by Monday. It reminds me of that, great line from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that, if you don't leave the castle, leave immediately, or I shall taunt you a second time. I mean, there's just this endless taunting of Yahoo that just doesn't end. So,
but okay, so let's look at this scenario. If Scott Thompson left on Monday, don't things explode? I mean, Yahoo shares have gone down for 2 straight days. I'm trying to find out why this is in Dan Loeb's best interests.
I think it's because, this has been one of the criticisms people have made, that it's not obvious what Loeb's real plans are for the company. What are the specific platforms that he wants to sort of enact in a Dan Loeb puppeted, let's call it, Yahoo, where he has direct control over what happened. The reality is you're seeing what Dan would like to do, what I think he would like to do with the sort of things we've seen in the patent lawsuits and others, which is take whatever planks there are in the organization that represent value and use those to ramp up the market's perception of some assets inside of Yahoo that either they can litigate against, they can sell, or they can do something with to get an incremental increase in value so that he can sell his shares at a higher price. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what activist investors do all the time. It's just that it isn't a particularly, happy strategy. As a matter of fact, you might call it somewhat Pyrrhic if you were a Yahoo engineer or a Yahoo employee.
Right. And very quickly, everyone on the board has to be on the same page to go down that path. I had heard in recent weeks, Gary Wilson, a guy who's leaving the board, who Dan Loeb had said, okay, maybe he could stay around and be chairman in the interim, doesn't even want to do that. And so my question ultimately is, who do you think is going to win this? Is it going to be Loeb who wins? Does Scott Thompson leave? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, Thompson. I strongly believe Thompson goes, Loeb wins, Yahoo employees probably lose, but shareholders get a bump in price over the next month or so.